The end of the Continental TV series gives some hints about what might happen in the John Wick movies. Even though it doesn't explain everything in detail, it shows that Winston becomes the manager of the Continental Hotel. Winston and Charon also form a strong bond, and this relationship is important in the John Wick movies. The show hints that Winston, the hotel manager, is willing to go against the powerful High Table when needed, as shown when he kills the Adjudicator. Besides this, the show sets up a connection between Winston and the Bowery, which might be explored more in a second season of the prequel series. This alliance between Winston and the Bowery could play a significant role in future John Wick movies. It suggests that Winston is building alliances and making strategic moves that might challenge the established order controlled by the High Table. Winston's willingness to oppose the High Table adds an interesting dynamic to his character, making him more than just a manager of a fancy hotel. It raises questions about his motives and whether he is positioning himself to be a key player in the ongoing conflict within the John Wick universe. The bond between Winston and Charon is also an intriguing element. Their relationship is hinted at being crucial in the John Wick films, indicating that Winston's influence and alliances might have a broader impact on the larger story. The Continental series potentially explores more of these connections in a second season. It could provide additional context and depth to the events that unfold in the John Wick movies. Fans of the franchise might anticipate how these alliances and characters introduced in the TV series will shape the narrative in the upcoming John Wick installments, adding more layers to the overall storytelling universe. The third episode showed Winston's big showdown at the Continental Hotel, wrapping up the story that started in the first episode. In the second episode, we saw Winston gathering a team to take down Cormac, and in the third episode, we finally got the intense action we were waiting for. The last episode also revealed some important details about Winston's past and his role as the manager of the Continental. It explains Winston's connection with the High Table and sheds light on the mysteries surrounding characters like KD and the Adjudicator. One major question from the ending is why Winston killed the Adjudicator. After successfully taking control of the Continental, the Adjudicator showed up to suspend the hotel temporarily. In a surprising move, Winston shot her in the head. The reason seems to be Winston sending a message to the High Table that he's in charge and won't back down. The show also unveiled what was under the Adjudicator's mask, revealing a disfigured mouth. This highlighted the dark side of the High Table's rule. KD's vendetta against Frankie and Winston was another plot thread. It turns out that Frankie and Winston unintentionally caused the death of KD's family when they were kids. Cormac intentionally sent them to commit the crime, shaping them into heartless soldiers. KD seeks revenge, ultimately killing Cormac but sparing Winston when she realizes his remorse. There was also a mystery about a coin press that Frankie stole. In the final episode, it's revealed that Winston hid it in the trunk of a car, and it played a significant role in the siege on the Continental. The coins, created with the press, allowed Winston's allies to infiltrate the hotel, exposing the High Table's desperation to retrieve it. The relationship between Winston and Charon was further explained, showing that Charon had a close bond with Frankie, treating him like a little brother. This creates a deep connection between Winston and Charon, making their friendship in the John Wick movies more emotional. The ending had its share of casualties, including Cormac, Lemmy, the twin assassins, and the Adjudicator. The series wrapped up with lots of action, answers to lingering questions, and hints at how the story might continue in the John Wick movies. John Wick 5 is going to be different from the previous movies in the series. Instead of continuing the story from John Wick 4, it will jump forward in time. This decision is crucial because at the end of the last movie, John Wick seems to have died after a brutal fight. Bringing him back right away would have lessened the impact of his death and made the story less interesting. The new movie's approach is to let some time pass, creating a gap between the events of John Wick 4 and the upcoming fifth installment. This way, when Keanu Reeves' character returns, it won't feel forced or ruin the emotions from the last film. It also prevents the franchise from getting repetitive, as a time jump means the environment and circumstances will likely be different. Considering the timeline of the previous movies, with the first three happening in a week and the fourth just 6 months later, bringing John Wick back immediately would have been a bad idea. The time jump adds weight to his death and allows for a fresh and exciting story in the fifth movie. As for how Keanu Reeves' character will return, there are a few possibilities. Flashbacks could be used to show John Wick training someone fresh and passing on the mantle to a successor. Another option is that Wick faked his death at the end of John Wick 4, perhaps with the help of powerful allies like the Bowery King. The graveyard scene in the last movie hinted at this possibility, and John Wick 5 might reveal that he had to come out of hiding and back into action years later due to some new challenges. Despite the excitement around the production of John Wick 5, there's a notable downside tied to Keanu Reeves' own wishes for his character's fate. The John Wick series started in 2014 and gained immense popularity for its intense action and gripping storyline. Keanu Reeves played the role of a retired assassin seeking revenge, and the franchise continued with 3 more successful films, leading up to the anticipation for John Wick 5. However, the challenge arises from Reeves' desire for John Wick's definitive death at the end of John Wick 4. The franchise's producer, Basil Iwanek, shared in an interview that the process of making these films is physically and emotionally draining for Keanu. Reeves expressed a clear wish to conclude his character's story conclusively, saying, "I want to be definitively killed at the end of this movie." This led to John Wick's apparent demise at the end of John Wick 4, leaving a small opening for a potential return, but also adding an element of uncertainty to the character's fate in the upcoming John Wick 5. While the production of John Wick 5 continues, the divergence from Reeves' original vision for his character introduces a unique challenge to the franchise, leaving fans curious about how the filmmakers will navigate the story and the fate of John Wick in this highly anticipated installment. It's unclear if Keanu Reeves will return for John Wick 5, and he's hinted that maybe he shouldn't. Reeves also talked about feeling tired from the role, and his well-being should matter more than making another John Wick movie. Even though fans want to see him back, it's ultimately his decision. Producers left the possibility open for Reeves, but it's more about what he wants than what fans expect. The good news is that John Wick 5 could still be great without Reeves. The story wrapped up well in John Wick 4, so there's no big need for him. Introducing a new John Wick could be done smoothly, keeping the familiar characters we love. Despite this, it seems like John Wick 5 with Reeves might happen, creating expectations. Reports say Lionsgate wants it only if Reeves signs on, putting pressure on him. Reeves' comments about John Wick 5 added to the challenge. While open to returning with a great story, it raises anticipation. If John Wick 5 revives John Wick, it could explain why he faked his death to leave the assassin's life. This would be ironic, given Reeves' own feelings. Whatever happens, Reeves should choose what's best for him. And that's what concludes today's video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Feel free to share your suggestions for future videos in the comments below.